Good morning, my friends. Welcome to today's episode of Happiness After Codependency. I'm excited to have you here for this episode as well. I'm Marshall Burtcher, and I help codependents rediscover their well-being and happiness by coming to know, love, and live who they are. So that is what I'm about. I've been doing this for about 13 years now, or actually over 13 years. And I am a survivor myself who has discovered the way to, my way to freedom beyond codependency, and been teaching others my principles, and they have discovered that freedom for themselves as well. So I'm excited to have you here. Today we are doing Boundaries, episode number 6. Do you J.A.D.E yourself? So I'll be getting into that here in a second. Before we do that, I need to share this out to the community. The community is your safe haven here on the internet, where you can find guidance, tools, and support in your journey back to yourself and back to your freedom, your well-being, and happiness after narcissistic abuse and codependency. The link is above on Facebook, below on YouTube, and if you're listening in on the podcast, you can check out the description below. I'll have a link there. Or you can go to www.freetheself.com and join there. All right, so let me get this shared out here to the community real quick, as our routine does. Okay, let me know how you guys are doing. Let me know your experience of today's topic in the comments below. And ultimately, if you're on YouTube, make sure you hit that subscribe button. If you're on the podcast, subscribe and share this out today, guys, to people you know could benefit from it. So, episode number 6 of Boundaries. Do you J.A.D.E yourself? Well, let me clarify what J.A.D.E means. It stands for justify, argue, defend, and explain. It's a common tactic we use, and that is used against us sometimes, in relationships where there is an imbalanced power, where there is a struggle to understand, or to feel safe, rather, in the interactions that are going on. A lot of times we justify, argue, defend, and explain things in order to try to control another person's perspective, get them to agree with us, or because we're coming from an insecurity about our own position. We don't feel safe unless we have agreement, we have understanding with the other person. Hey, Laura, it's nice to see you. And so we justify our positions, we argue with people about them, we try to defend them, and we try to explain them. And part of codependency has conditioned us to do this because we don't actually believe in the legitimacy and the validity of our own position, because we have not been taught to occupy the space of our own personal authority and sovereignty. Instead, we've been conditioned to fawn or appeal to other people's points of view as truth or reality, or what is for us personally. We've not been granted, and it's not even being granted, we have not been taught to access our personal authority and wisdom. We have been conditioned to seek it through others. And this leads us to a sense of insecurity and an instability in our own perspective of reality and our own experiences. And while, we can be wrong about what we conclude about things in reality based on our experience, that doesn't mean our experience is invalid or that our feelings are invalid. A lot of times in toxic or abusive relationships, the experience and the feelings are attacked by the abuser through gaslighting, through a practice called DARVO, which stands for Deny, Attack, Reverse, Victim, and Offender, where you make a claim to say, hey, this hurt me, please stop doing that. And they're like, I didn't do that. You deserved that. You're the problem. Don't do that again to me. So they make you the enemy instead of actually taking accountability for what they did. This is DARVO. DARVO and gaslighting go hand in hand, and they teach us to disbelieve and discount ourselves in our reality. This results in an insecurity about our own position, our own experience, our own feelings, fundamentally our own legitimacy, the own realness of what we've gone through and what we've experienced. We do this to ourselves all the time. So we have a positive experience. We defend our negative experience against it. We're like, well, that was just a fluke. We just gaslit ourselves. We just put ourselves down. We just denied our reality, and we defended our past, our conclusion about what reality is really what we're doing. Sometimes when we make a choice that is simply for ourselves, it doesn't involve anybody else, it doesn't involve agreements we have with anybody else, we justify, argue, defend, and explain it to people who don't deserve that kind of interaction. They don't need that information. In fact, they're not entitled to any explanation, and you don't have to defend yourself to them, and you don't have to argue with them about what you chose or justify it to them, because you're an adult. You're a sovereign being. You're the one that lives with the consequence. So it doesn't require you to explain that choice and action to them, especially if it doesn't directly affect them or directly involve an agreement you have with them. So an example of this is I go out and buy my pink car, and my neighbor hates pink cars. I do not have to justify, argue, defend, or explain to them my choice in a pink car. Now, if pink cars affect, like, maybe my girlfriend or my children or something, like they're allergic to pink or something, which this shirt would be problematic there, then we would have a problem. Because I've done something that has directly affected people I care about. Now I would need to sit down and actually work towards understanding their experience, applying empathy from it to it, and then making a change. Again, I'm not justifying, explaining, defending, or arguing about my choice. I'm working towards comprehension, understanding, and repair. Now, in that particular instance, I wouldn't buy the pink car to begin with because I know it would have that negative impact on them. But this is a strong example, or rather a simple example of how J.A.D.E shows up in our world. We think we have to explain ourselves to people whom have no meaningful relevance or significance in our world. And we do it with everything. We do it with the clothing we wear, the things we listen to, the media we participate in, our own perspectives on things going on in the world, how we decorate our house, what we eat, how we spend our time, how we utilize our capacity and energy. We do it everywhere, and we're doing it unconsciously. And it's a habit that is undermining our own confidence, our own legitimacy, and our own power. So when we really enter sovereignty, the right to self-govern, then we are embracing our personal power, and that is the ability to make choices and take actions of our own free will and accord, and then inherit the consequences that come with that. This empowers us to make choices, take actions that add to our well-being and happiness because the consequence teaches us. But if we're utilizing capacity and focus and time and trying to convince others of our choices and their legitimacy, we're outside our yard. We're not back in our yard. We're not nurturing ourselves, and we're not practicing confidence within our own true reality. See, what's true for me does not have to be true for anybody else. I don't have any right and any authority to assert that X is true for everyone, because I don't know what's true for them. Only they do. When we get into this kind of idea of personal sovereignty, like, wow, this person's autonomy is separate from mine and I have no right to define their reality for them, then I move into a very powerful position of influence by asking questions. And then they can have a powerful influence in my world by asking questions. Through this process of asking questions and answering them, we come to comprehend each other. And from there, we can build real intimacy and real honesty about how we interact with each other. So no more are we making this person wrong, me right, or me wrong and they right. Instead, we're going, what is really happening here? What's going on for us? And we can begin to feel more seen, more heard, more valued, more respected, and even more loved. Now we're not justifying, arguing, defending, and explaining ourselves. We're not motivating others to do the same by approaching them in critical ways. Instead, we're going, well, what's going on here? Tell me about your reality. Tell me about what's happening for you in your experience. This sets us up for real power. It gets us out of other people's yards. It ends codependency. It stops the personal degradation of our confidence. Like, I'm wearing a pink shirt today because I like pink. That's it. I like it. In fact, that's kind of an explanation or a justification, right? I'm just wearing a pink shirt. I'm going about with my day. See how it gets us? We no longer have to do that. We can freely do that if we want to. If we feel like we want to divulge or share more about our motivation for making a choice or taking an action, we're free to do that. But we're not obligated to do that with individuals who do not have a direct relationship to that choice and action, and who aren't directly affected by it. That's the cool part here. This can take us into a space of more rest, more peace, less hypervigilance, and more space for us to cultivate inspiration, connection to our intuition, to our creativity, and ultimately peace of mind, because we're no longer fixated on trying to get others to agree with us or see things a certain way, or we're no longer conforming to their points of view. We're actually allowing difference to exist. We're allowing misunderstanding to exist, because people will misunderstand us. They misunderstand me frequently. I misunderstand them frequently. Cool. I don't have to fix it anymore, because there's no arguing, defending, explaining, or justification involved. It's just like, cool, you misunderstand me. If you want more understanding, if you want more clarity, feel free to ask. But I'm no longer in an effort to try to control other people's points of view. This is not my yard. It's not my job. My job is to know mine, respect mine, and follow it with integrity. Laura shares, I've stopped explaining myself and decisions to others so much more lately. It's incredibly liberating. Yeah, less anxiety, more freedom. Exactly. That's the beauty of it. Because you're an adult. You're a sovereign being. If we're really to mature into adulthood and into ourselves, and we're really to build a world in which we see, love, and value each other, we're going to have to embrace this practice of respecting other people's autonomy and their separateness from us and their own power, so that we can also respect our own autonomy, separateness, or wholeness in that respect, and power, so that we can create cooperation built on consent and privilege, rather than driving our relationships on expectations, entitlement, or obligation. It's where we find a lot more peace and freedom in our world. There you go, my friends. That is today's training. So remember that you're worth knowing, loving, and keeping. Again, if you're watching this on YouTube, hit that subscribe button and like the video. Share this out to people you know that would value it. And I will see you guys next week for our next training. Have a great day and a safe weekend out there. Bye-bye.